this as something he is
We're not going to be able to solve our problems if we get distracted by sideshows and carnival barkers.
One Republican, one Democrat, and you discuss the issues that matter in today's local, state, national, and global politics. Hosted by Steve Hickson with co-hosts John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey. This is Backfire.
Hey, Cleveland. Welcome to Backfire this morning. John Stanberry's in the studio with us as usual. Franklin couldn't make it this morning. Somebody said he's up there in Chicago trying to work out a labor dispute or something up there with the unions, I think.
That's probably more dangerous than climbing the Himalayan mountains that he did.
We've got Jeff Morlock and Bob Burris in the studio with us this morning. Two of Cleveland's local Democrats that can't get up this early. So
That's right.
We found a couple that could fill in for Franklin this morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, a lot been going on. I mean, we can go all over the world here and talk about everything, but some of the things I guess we need to talk about is the candidates lined up for the county commission. Let's talk about a little local here. Anyway, I've got a list here. District 1, Dennis Collins, Tom Edwards Collins, Michael Hughes, and then Terry K. Wood's the incumbent, right?
He's the incumbent, you know, and Tom Collins is our current road superintendent. He's picked up a petition to run for commissioner in the.
Well, I thought he was just retiring altogether, but
he's picked up a petition to run. He may not turn it in, but he's picked one up.
Okay.
So I guess he's thinking about it.
District 2, John Burns, William Glenn Campbell, Thomas Cry, Jimmy Lynn Kendrick, and Tommy Wingo Salmon.
That's
No Tom Cry. Good guy.
Louis Alford's the.
That's his district.
That's his district. And Connie Wilson is not up for re-election. So.
So there's
Now, you mean she's decided not to run for re-election?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's quite a few in District 2 going to be running then.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Anyway, I'm like you, Bob. The only one of these I think I know is Tom Cry. He's been in real estate appraisals and things like that. Pretty good guy.
Local appraiser.
District 3, Mylon Blake. He's one of our Whoop guys that's coming on board here. David Kelly, Jeff Morlock, the incumbent here. David Kelly, I know Mylon real well. I don't know.
David's former chairman of the school board.
Huh?
He's former chairman of the school board.
David is official out at Family Resource Agency. I think he's kind of over the Head Start program out at Family Resource Agency.
Okay.
Nice fella.
Johnny Mull. Yeah, we got Johnny in here. I know Johnny well.
Yeah, Johnny's.
He's been involved in the community for many years.
Nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
His mother was
Pam?
court clerk for years, and his
grandfather
granddad was
as
a
well.
trustee for years, and he's very well known in the community. Very nice person.
He stays involved. I've seen him around a lot.
Johnny and I graduated high school together.
Did you? Charlotte Pete Jones is in District 4. She's going to be running, and June Montgomery.
Oh, okay.
Right.
June Montgomery.
June works at Family Resource, I believe.
So, Howard Thompson's back in the scene here.
Howard's back.
Now, how can Howard come back? I thought there was something illegal or something that happened there.
I can't answer that question. I don't know what it is.
Probably have to talk to the district attorney about that.
Obviously, it's not, because he is.
Well, I mean, you know, the law says that if you've had a felony or have a felony, you can't, but apparently it's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore. That's another whole show, I guess, isn't it? District 4, Adam Lowe's dropping out this year. He's going to be
going to run for state representative.
State rep. Adam's a good guy. District 5, Jeff Yarber. Jeff's got it all to himself here, it looks
So
like.
far, but I think Mr. Ledford will probably rerun. He'll be in. I think he'll have 42 years in when his term ends, and you'd think he's the county organization that represents the counties did a survey here about 6 months ago on long-serving county commissioners, and we submitted Bill's name as one of them, but there's some fellow over somewhere in Tennessee that served almost 60 years.
Wow.
So anyway, Bill was in the top 10 anyway.
So he's like the Kaz Walker of Bradley County.
Yeah, he's been.
Well, he ought to know where everything is.
Bill is the only sitting commissioner who was served as a justice of the peace. They changed the law, and I believe it was in '76 to used to be a 6-year term, and you were justice of the peace, and then they changed the law and made them county commissioners and changed the term to 4 years.
But they can still marry people.
That's correct. You still
right.
marry people.
42 years. That's a long time for any politician.
That's right.
District 6, Mel Griffith, Ronnie Keller, Tom Lepford. Here's our boy, Dan Rawls. He's our calling specialist each week.
Dan's usually at the commission meetings. He's up on what's going on, whether you agree with him or not.
Very dedicated.
He's dedicated to community issues.
And local Tea Party leader.
Yeah. And Robert Romanger's in that group, too. He's the
Robert's
incumbent. District 7, Mark Hall and Bill Winters are the incumbent. And I didn't see anybody running in their district.
They're both fairly strong. I'd kind of be surprised if they have any opposition. They're both fairly strong.
All right, courts. Circuit Court, Larry Puckett. Circuit Court Part 2, Michael Sharp. Circuit Court Part 3, William J. Brown, Sandra Donaghy, and Andrew Freiberg. So, anybody know any of these people?
Well, Andrew is husband of our county attorney, Crystal Freiberg.
Well, we know all three of them. You know, Bill's very prominent local attorney.
Yeah.
Andrew's been a hard-working local district attorney, and Sandra ran 4 years ago for one of the judgeships then, and was a DA.
Okay. Criminal Court, Amy Reedy. Public Defender, Richard Hughes. District Attorney, Steve Crump.
I want to brag on Richard Hughes. Richard Hughes is former chairman of the Democratic Party. Bradley County is now a Republican, switched parties, and has been a faithful, good, hard-working Republican for the last 4 years or more. I guess 8 years.
I don't know about being a faithful Republican, but he's done a good job as public defender.
He has done an excellent job.
Good public servant. So
excellent job.
Tough job.
Steve Crump's running for district attorney.
We'll do an excellent job.
Okay. County Mayor Gary Davis. Register of Deeds Dina Swafford. Road Superintendent. This all get things stirred up.
Yep.
Roberts Combs, Randall Davis, and Sandra Knight. What's the qualifications for road superintendent?
You've got to have some sort of technical expertise to run for road superintendent.
Well, you're supposed to have an engineering degree, but they waive that in a dozen or more counties across the state, kind of arbitrarily.
Mm-hmm.
Sandra's the county engineer. I don't know those other two.
You know, we tried hard up in Polk County to get a waiver for a Republican candidate up there, because the problem with it was you either had to have the engineering degree, which in a small rural county like Polk County is kind of hard to come by, or you had to have experience. Well, the problem in Polk County is the Democrats won't hire any Republicans, so Republicans can never get the experience. And we tried hard to get a waiver. Unfortunately, the Pike Road Superintendent Association in the state refused the waiver, even though a pretty good number of their own superintendents had the waiver.
Well, I figured somebody in the construction business or somebody would be.
Those two gentlemen may be in the construction business. I don't know who they are.
Circuit Court Clerk Gayla Miller, County Clerk Donna Simpson, Sheriff Jim Ruth, and Eric Watson. That's going to be a real contest, isn't it?
That'll be a
Big contest.
That'll be a contest.
Trustee Mike Smith, unopposed. Mike does a good job.
Well, if you look at the rates of return that Mike garners for the county, it's going to be very difficult to make a case that he's not done an excellent job.
Oh, he's done a great job, yeah. General Sessions, Division 1, Daniel Swafford. Judge Swafford, he's a Good guy. You know, he's really done a good job.
He's done an excellent job
with these youth and what's going on over there.
And a lot of innovative new programs, and he's managed the money well. He's done an excellent job.
Hey, go Dan. General Sessions Division 2, Barrett Painter and Sheridan Randolph.
That'll be a nice race.
Yep. What's that one?
Both good guys. That'll be a nice race.
Constable 1, Ronald Arthur. Darren Brantley. Any relation to you, Daniel?
None you know of.
Charles Carroll and Donnie Hughes. Constable 2, Richard Alford. Constable 3, Jason Corum and Jesse Hughes.
Make me tough race.
Dickie.
Constable 4, Kevin Cry, Wayne Henry. Constable 5, Steve Anderson. Constable 6, Charles Dunson, Johnny Hicks, and Jeffrey Lewis. Constable 7, James Lewis. That's all I've got. I hope I didn't leave out anything.
Is that Ed Lewis or James Lewis?
It says James Lewis.
I think that's Ed.
I believe that's Ed. I believe that's Ed Lewis.
He better get that changed.
He better get that. Nobody will know him.
Nobody will know him by James Lewis.
Yeah.
First time I've heard that.
Yeah. Let's talk about constables a minute. Is that something that's needed or unneeded?
There's only about, I think, 7 or 8 states in the country that actually have constables, but people kind of need to understand that they are the second highest law enforcement officer in the county, just under the sheriff.
Wow.
They do have a lot of power.
Well, and they do a lot of work. They serve the vast majority of the warrants in Bradley County.
And if I'm not mistaken, they don't get any. It doesn't cost the county any money to have them.
They're paid off, I think, the warrants that they serve.
I know there's been a lot of hoopla in the past from some of the sheriffs wanting to get rid of the constables and some of this kind of stuff.
Well, Sheriff Ruth made it a point that he didn't want to get rid of them, that they help out over there. They fill in, and they can do things that a deputy doesn't have to go out and take their professional time to go out. They can serve papers, and the deputy doesn't have to do that. So that's why I think he likes them.
But there was also some concern in years past about the level of training and how that is enforced. I know for years, Ira Cox, Ira was probably one of the most dedicated men you'd ever find.
Worked hard.
His car was marked exactly the way the law required. His uniform was put together and worn exactly the way the law required. That's been some concern over the years.
Well, anyway, the election time's coming up. When is the election again?
Well, it depends on which one. There's one in May. There's one in August. There's one in November.
We're going to be wore out.
The May primary will decide any of the Democrat and Republican races to run for the county offices. Then the general election for the county offices will be in August, and also the primary for the federal offices will be in August, and then the final general for the federal offices, the Senate, the House, will be in November.
What's going on with I haven't heard anything about the our district attorney. You know, they were doing the investigation and so forth. What's going on with the DA's investigation? I mean, basically, is it going to
Well, nothing can go on right now. If there's any action taken, it can only be taken after the House and State Senate reconvene in January. So that's
going out of office September 1st, so it's basically a waste of time now to spend any time dealing with it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's going out of office soon.
Yeah, because justice, has a time limit on it.
Oh, Lord. Bradley Commission holds off on changing the commission selection process. What's going on? Tell us a little bit about that. Now, I've heard Franklin's side and I've heard John's side. I want to hear Jeff's side.
Jeff's side is, if they want to get rid of me, whether it's seat A or seat B or the way it is now, all they have to do is not vote for me. And my personal opinion is it doesn't make any difference. But when this issue comes back up, I'm going to propose that we put it on the ballot in August. It is not one of those. It's not an issue that I don't like the idea of sloughing a important issue off on the electorate when we need to make a tough decision. But I don't think this is a tough decision. It doesn't make any difference to me, personally. And I'm going to propose we put it on the ballot in August and let the voters decide how they want to elect their commissioners.
Well, I think that's very fair. My problem with it is, and I've posed this to a couple of people, if we assumed today that we had the A and B seat, that was the method that we have, what logical argument could be made for going to a vote for the top two? I mean, why would you go to, I don't know why they went to vote for the top two in the first place, and how anybody argues against one man, one vote, which is what an A and B seat would be. And Jeff makes a good point. If you're doing a great job, you're going to win. If you're not doing a great job, someone may beat you.
Under either proposal.
Well, no, not necessarily. You know good and well that some of these people manipulate that vote for two, because the idea is everybody should vote for two candidates and then the top two win. But a lot of these guys go in there and they go, hey, I'm going to tell all of my people to single shot me. Well, percentage-wise, that bumps them up in the percentage. And it's actually, in a way, it's stealing votes from someone else, because if another candidate is honest and says, hey, vote for me and then vote for whoever else you want, he's actually diluting his percentage compared to the guy that's getting all these single shots.
Well, I mean, you know, number one, there's nothing unethical or immoral about single shotting in an election. You can go in there and pick a ballot with 20 people on it, and you can just vote for one office. There's nothing illegal or immoral about doing that.
I didn't say it was illegal or immoral, but it's certainly, if one guy's single shotting and one guy's not, you're not getting an exact picture of what the electorate wanted, because they're playing with the percentages. And the point is, Jeff, if you're doing a great job, why would you be opposed to an A and B seat?
Well, I mean, I stand on my premises that I don't really think it makes any difference. If they want to get rid of me, I'll use myself for an example. They just don't have to vote for me.
Yeah.
And
well, you know, your name stands for a lot when it's on the ballot for the vote. So the A and B seat, I'm trying to figure out.
What was the point to begin with? Of course, now, I'll be honest with you. Several commissioners, Jeff Yarber being one, has proposed several years ago that we go to 9 commission seats with only 1 per district, which would have actually saved the county a good bit of money.
Jeff, what do you think about that?
I would be in favor of that. I think it's a good idea. I think
I agree.
9 commissioners is plenty enough in to operate. I think 9 districts, 9 commissioners would work fine.
Well, the only argument that I've heard is, you know, that's a big district, and you know they can't always get to 1 commissioner, need 2 in that
district. Well, actually, it's a smaller district than we have now, because we've only got 7 districts now.
Yeah.
So you'd actually have 2 more districts, which would make each district smaller. And you know, the only argument against that is, oh my gosh, I might lose my seat.
Yeah.
That'd be the only argument. I
mean, I agree.
I think it's a good idea,
but it would save the taxpayers money.
Yes.
And I think, and I'm going to look into seeing if we can change that before the next census, but it may be we can't change it till the next census. I'm not sure about that.
And by the way, for complete disclosure to everybody out there, when the county, under the census, when the county reaches 150,000, state law requires that we go to an A and B commission seat. That's actually the preferred method, and it's required over 150,000 population. So obviously somebody thinks that's the better way to do it.
I have an idea that, and I don't know this for a fact, I just have an idea that law came about because of a political situation in some big county somewhere. I may be wrong, but I have an idea that it originated from.
Well, it may have come about from a political boss in a big city that was always single shot in his own vote and able to stay in office for decades and decades and decades.
I'm for going to 9 commissioners, and I'm for doing the if we do an A and B seat, putting it on the ballot and let the people decide how they want to elect their commissioners. I don't feel like I'm sloughing my responsibility to put that on the ballot. The issue with the wheel tax, I felt like the commission should have made a decision on it.
So wait a minute. You mean you think it's wrong for you to go to a simple A and B, you to make that decision A and B, which would save the taxpayer money, but increasing the taxes on the people was better in your hands than the people's hands?
I didn't say that. I said that is a decision that the commission should have made. I didn't say we'd make a better decision. I just feel like when you're presented with a difficult subject like that, the commission doesn't need to slough it off on the voters. It's our responsibility to make a decision on it. If you don't like the decision that we made, vote us out of office.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm real sensitive when it comes to taxes. I'd much rather you give me a vote on whether we raise taxes than to give me a vote on how you all elect yourselves.
John, let me use this. Why don't we just have a vote on everything? I mean, why do we?
Well, but taxes are taken by force, and I know that the liberals always react to that, but that is the effective outcome here. Taxes are forced on us by the government. And so I think the people on an issue like your economic freedom, the people ought to have a voice as representative as possible.
Well, I don't disagree with you completely, but I mean, the representatives of the people are put up there to make tough decisions. And if you don't agree with the decisions we make, then you can vote us out of office. And oftentimes, and you may not agree with this, when you're in office, you hear this all the time, folks in office may know a little bit more about what's going on with a particular subject than the populace in general. I'm not saying that that's true with everybody, but I mean, we hear this in Washington. You know, these people, why'd you vote that way? They may know more about it than we do.
Well, that's why we've got a medical system that's being crammed down our throats now, because a bunch of experts in Washington thought they knew better than we did.
All right, let me ask you guys another question since I've got all these Democrats in the room. Do you feel like you need to show ID to vote?
Well, you know, I'm sure that there's some little old lady or some little old man out there somewhere who doesn't have an ID. I'm sure there is, but do you know anybody that doesn't have an ID?
No.
Okay. Or can't easily get one?
There's a lot of things you have to have an ID for besides voting.
I don't.
Can't get on a plane without one.
Well, you have to have an ID to get into a rally where the president will tell you shouldn't have to have an ID to vote.
So I don't. I mean,
So you've been to a Democrat rally lately?
I've been to Republican rallies, Bobby, and the Secret Service is nonpartisan, and they treat everybody the same.
All right,
I don't see. I just don't see where having to have an ID is a problem, and it may be in Memphis or New York or somewhere, but I don't. Bradley County, I don't.
It may be where you're trying to steal a bunch of votes.
Franklin brought it up one time on the show. He said, show me a problem. There's not a problem.
There's tons of problems.
He keeps arguing there's not a problem with
Al
voters.
Franken was elected by a margin of about 340 or so votes. They documented over 1,300 convicted felons that voted in that election alone who shouldn't have been allowed to vote.
I watched a show here a few weeks ago, and it was talking about a big rise going on in the obituaries. The obituaries in your hometown, they read, and people have died. They can look up their voter records. Then they can go in and register as them and go in and vote.
Well, the
And
Fords
there's
were
millions of people doing it.
The Fords were doing it as part of their funeral home business.
So there is fraud, and there is ways to cheat in elections. So therefore, that's why everyone should have a voter ID. They should be verified as an American
Well, that's
citizen.
actually one of the problems, too. This thing bleeds over in a lot of areas. Several states, Tennessee included, started issuing driver's licenses to illegal aliens.
Yeah.
And they make the argument, oh, well, you know, even though they're illegal aliens, we want them to, you know, be legal on the road while they're driving. Well, the problem is a driver's license is a government form of ID for all kinds of things. And that was one of the Republicans' arguments for trying to close that, because it just opens the door for fraud on lots of levels.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm for the ID. I remember, and I've said this, when I was turned of age to vote, one of the big deals for me was to go down to the courthouse and sign up. Now, I got, when I signed up to vote, I ended up getting drafted in the military out of this.
I remember that quite well.
Yeah.
Miss Imogene
Pendleton.
Imogene Pendleton. I remember her quite well.
Anyway, but I got registered to vote, and I got registered for the military, and that seemed to be a big deal.
See, let me say, too, you know, Jeff's a Democrat, I'm a Republican, and we disagree on some things, but I always appreciate that. Jeff just gave a very reasonable, you know, explanation of that, and the kind of thing that two people, whether you're Republican or Democrat, could on common sense terms just go, yeah, you know, that kind of makes sense. Let's make sure you're entitled to vote if we're going to let you vote.
All right, I've got a hard question right now. What are we going to do about the dogs in this town?
Well, I've said from the first that my wish would be for the city and the county to come together and have one facility for animals for the whole community, and that it would be operated by a nonprofit organization on a budget that's affordable to the taxpayers.
Well, you know what you've been paying for it. So if somebody makes you a proposal that saves you any money, is that a good deal? Let's rock and roll and let's get on with it.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
Well, seems like it takes an awful long time for this to happen.
Well, you know, I don't disagree, but you've also got to look in Hamilton County. The McCamey Animal Center has been up and down. It's been positive.
What
been
is
negative.
going on with that thing?
I don't know.
There's a lot of politics involved in that somehow down there.
For people like me who's kind of sitting back and watching, it's hard for me to get my hands around. You know, we've had a awful dispute amongst the various animal friendly organizations in Bradley County about, you know, who's going to run this thing, and you know, they don't know what they're doing, they don't know what, and it's hard for me to get my hands around.
Who owns the assets over here where they keep the animals now? Who owns those assets?
The city.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a city facility.
And the county just puts funds into it?
The county, at this point in time, the city's doing everything, and the county's just paying them so much a month. Right now it's $20,000 a month, I believe.
$20,000 a month. Now then, the county's complaining that's too much, right?
Well, the reason this came about is
it's gone up from what it was.
Yeah,
but that's because the county let the contract lapse.
Well, they let it lapse because the city wanted quite a bit more money than that to renew the contract back in, I think it was March or April the 1st. So we've been talking about this thing for that many months.
Let's be real honest and open and come out with this. Basically, the county thinks the city has mismanaged it and spending too much money for the services they're giving.
That's the basic.
That's the bottom line. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Now then, with that being said, the county's refused to put as much money into it as the city's demanding. Now, the city's got how many trucks over there?
I don't know how many they've got.
And they've got all these employees over there and some of these type of things. So the bottom line is the county feels like the city's mismanaging the process and they're paying too much.
Well, let's just say feel like it's too expensive.
Okay. All right. Now then, with that being said, and the private entity comes in, they're going to have a facility probably, unless they have one currently, but then they're going to have to enlarge
the proposal that's been recommended by the commission, by the committee that will be presented to the commission, it was in the paper, I think it was last night, that there's a facility over there close to the old Justice Center that's going to be renovated and will be the county animal control facility.
Why do we have to renovate one? Why don't we just use the one that they're currently using and charge rent to the people that's going to provide the services?
I have a real weird idea. Why don't we try something called capitalism and just put a bid package out and say, guy, is there someone out there that is willing to risk their entrepreneurial spirit, start a business, and collect our animals for us? Here's the guidelines. We want you to follow the guidelines, and whoever gives us the cheapest price, you're going to get the contract.
Well, that's basically what the county wanted to do, and but the city, and that will basically end up being what the county has.
But the problem is the city ought to, you go down here in Georgia, I've talked about this before, there's towns in Georgia that have privatized almost everything. And every service that they surveyed, the public came back and said, we are actually more satisfied with the private service, and it's cheaper on our pocketbooks. They're tremendously happy.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about all these services being combined as Metro. Bye.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson. We'll be right back after this.
You are listening to WOOP.